everyone, my name is Carolyn. I am autistic. I also have ADHD, so I guess ADHD. And I love to crochet, and I've got a little bit of time before I have to go and pick up my car. And so I thought I would come on here and talk a little bit about my experience being an autistic woman who often kind of goes under the radar. People don't really notice it. It's like if you've been the victim of your own masking for your entire life, well, that's kind of my experience now. And so I've really just come to understand that I am autistic in the last 3 years. It's been a process. There's been a lot of imposter syndrome, and I am working my way through it. So yeah. And there were definitely signs that I was autistic growing up that I think people just did not notice. I mean, little girls, it's just known that little girls were not, we are conditioned by society, honestly, to become so agreeable by nature that our autism can go unnoticed for a very long time. And so that was the case with me. I don't love this. I'm gonna put this aside because I got this really pretty fancy yarn. I don't usually get really pretty fancy yarn. I get acrylic. For a lot of reasons, I'm not a snob about almost anything. So I'm not a snob about or pretentious about fabrics either, or the yarn. I also have a lot of allergies and sensitivities, so I think because of that also, I love acrylic yarn. This is a project that I'm also working on, and I like this a lot more than this other thing here. So maybe I'll just put this aside. It's supposed to be a cover-up, like a mesh cover-up for a tank top or a bathing suit or something. And I was very proud of myself. Oh, there's Scarlett. Scarlett, say hi. Hi, honey. Scarlett is a rescue dog. She was a breeding dog at a puppy mill. So essentially her entire life, her little babies just got taken away from her. It's actually quite atrocious what happens. It's in Lancaster. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I could talk about puppy mills another time, but back to crochet. I was so proud of myself because I learned how to do a foundation stitch. I guess, is it a foundation and a single crochet? I'm not exactly sure what I did there. But instead of doing an entire row of chains, just a bunch of chains, and then having to crochet into that, I learned how to do a foundation stitch. So I feel very happy about that. It's the little things, you know? So yeah, I am autistic. I have ADHD, so ADHD, and it means that I am literally a walking dichotomy of so many things. I love routine, consistency, and spontaneity, and despise having plans. So I love all things that are colorful, but my wardrobe is almost completely black and white. I love being out. I love being very social, but I also love spending time just by myself. And so it was really hard journey discovering that I was autistic. I think for a lot of girls, we are taught how to just get along and how to put other people first. Everyone else is important, their needs matter, and so we put ours aside. And because of that, so many of us went our entire lives not realizing how much we were struggling. And when you do actually ask for help, because you have masked so long, it can actually be very difficult for anyone to even believe you or to see the distress, because you've worked your butt off your entire life to hide the fact that you've been suffering, or you don't even realize how much harder you've got it. All right. Okay, so I'm going to work on a hexagon cardigan. This is one that I made for my son. It is now complete. I'm so happy. I weaved in all of the ends, and let's see. I'm also Canadian, living in Philadelphia. I do love this country. I immigrated this past year, and happy that that happened. Okay, so this is a cardigan that I made for my son. It is a hexagon cardigan, and so if you make a granny cluster and you make it into the shape of a hexagon, and then you just start going around and around and around, you too can have a cardigan like this. So he chose the colors. It was originally inspired by the San Francisco 49ers. I used to live in San Francisco, and that's my son's favorite team. But once we started putting it together, oh, and here's the sleeve. Once we started putting it together, he decided he did not want to have the yellow in it, or like the gold. So I'm quite happy with this. Now it's too hot though for him to wear it, so he's gonna have to wait until the fall. So he's got his. I've got another one that I made, you can see hanging up there. So that was the first one that I made. I just learned how to crochet in February. So if this is something that you think, oh, I could never do that, oh, I'm too set in my ways, or I'm not capable of learning something new, might I suggest that you are wrong and that you can learn. Literally every tutorial that I could possibly want is available online. So I will not be a channel where I teach you how to crochet. I will simply crochet along with you. I grew up knitting, and I knit. I taught myself, no, someone taught me how to knit when I was like in 4th grade. And from that point on, I made everyone that I knew, blankets, scarves, essentially anything that was like a square or rectangular pattern, because I didn't have access to other patterns. And aside from understanding how to switch between purling and knitting, I didn't really know how to make any shapes. So I think I did learn how to make a baby kimono, I think, when I was like in my early 20s. So I did make one item, or I made baby hats that I could understand how to make. But crochet is something that it's so creative. The options are so much more varied. So I now am able to make actual clothing after having just taught myself how to crochet in February. So that's what, 4 months? February, March, 5 months. 5 months? 5 months I taught myself how to crochet, and now I'm making clothing. So this one is inspired. I live in Philadelphia. I am Canadian, but I live in Philadelphia, and the Phillies are quite a big deal here. So I decided I'm going to make Philly sports themed cardigans. So this is my Phillies baseball one, and I just put both of the panels together. I just took them and seamed them down the center. So before I did that, they were just 2 hexagons that when you fold up one of the sides like this, you get the sleeve. And then when you take 2 of these, and I highly suggest that you make both of them at the same time. My ADHD brain did not enjoy after I made my first cardigan. It did not enjoy the process of completing one side and then having to start over on the other. It honestly was a huge barrier for me. So I've decided now going forward, I'm going to make both panels at the exact same time so that I can put them together and not have to, I don't know, it doesn't feel like having to start over again. So learning some things as I go. So this is, okay, so I just put this one together and now I am ready to put a row of red along the neckline here. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Oh, it looks like I'm already attached to red. So where, oh shoot, I'm just pulling it all out. Nice. Oh, it's actually attached around me. Okay. All right, well, it's pulling out, so I will share how to do this. Okay, so I think that crochet for autistic people and as ADHD and autistic people is so good because I can do something like this, create an item like this. All this is this one stitch over and over and over. It's a cluster, a granny cluster, and it's 1, 2, 3 double crochets, and then you just go all the way around. So between this, I also made this little guy. Again, same stitch. I just used the yarn that I had at home. I don't like these colors at all, but I'm using this now as the bag to carry all of my work in progress projects. So yeah, this is what this one stitch, once you learn how to make that, you can make clothing. It's really not hard. Oh, actually, here, another thing that I made. This is cute, not practical. Let's see here. All right. Okay, well, it's a bra top. And I like it a lot. I'm actually quite pleased with it. However, there is absolutely zero support in this, and I've got to figure something out because it does not work at all for me. So I think maybe just a wider band on it. But I was pretty happy. See, once you understand how to make a concept or one part, well, then you can just use your own imagination and start coming up with other ideas. So I might give this away. But yeah, I just learned how to do this in February, so it hasn't been that long. That's also kind of how it is when you lock in on a special interest or a new hobby. And one of the reasons why I also think that crochet is such a great hobby, especially for me, is because I definitely bounce around from one interest to another. And I would say my main special interests are psychology, for sure, human behavior. I was raised in a very dysfunctional household and I went to school for psychology, but realized that I was too sensitive and I would take everyone's problems home with me and want to save everyone, and that would not be a good career for me. But yeah, so my special interests are definitely people and observing behaviors and I guess like arts and crafts. I've always loved color. I've loved textures. So, oh, I almost started doing the wrong stitch there. I almost started doing a treble crochet, which is what I was doing on my other project, but okay. So, but a lot of the other hobbies that I've had, because I'm also a photographer and have been for the last 15 years, buying lenses and any photography equipment is extremely expensive. And then I got into my film and acting school, and I started doing like lighting design, which is known as gaffing. Oh shoot, I always do this. I have to frog it. Okay, so frogging is when you've gone too far and you have to reverse. So not too bad in this case, but I do need to go back because I am currently fusing both of these panels together. Oh, that's right. I had also made an error and I don't know how much I care. I am not a perfectionist at all. If something doesn't line up, I don't really care. Let's see. That actually does. That does. No. Okay, so it's not going to line up. Which is actually one of the reasons why I realized I would never be able to do crochet as a career. I make so many mistakes and I just keep going, and I would not be able to keep myself to a high enough degree of perfection to ever sell these. So instead, I will crochet on here and make gifts for people, and they better not complain if there's a missed cluster here or there. All right. I really do need to focus this so I don't mess this up. So I'm making a hexagon cardigan. If you are just joining, my name is Carolyn. I am ADHD, which means I have both autism and ADHD, which is really an interesting way to experience life. If you also have autism and ADHD, then welcome, and it's so nice to meet you. It is very difficult for a lot of women to even identify that there is a problem, and then to figure out what the heck the problem is, because a lot of us did so much masking as good little girls that we don't even know who we are, what we need. We've just been so used to putting other people's needs first. And yeah. I think for a very long time, because I was also, because I had ADHD, I work very much on adrenaline and last minute anxiety. I also grew up in a very tumultuous and abusive family, so there wasn't a whole lot of sitting around, and like I couldn't get away with resting. So I think because I always had some anxiety and adrenaline going, I got away with masking autism for a very long time, and it really showed itself after I had children, when the amount of responsibility that you have, the amount of things to mentally have to keep track of, I think I just got burnt out, and I started realizing, like, oh my goodness, like this is, yes, I have anxiety, yes, I have depression, but I think I'm also a very highly sensitive person, and I always knew that. I knew I was sensitive. So my path to realizing I was autistic included first realizing that I was highly sensitive, and then thinking I have ADHD, and then realizing, oh goodness, I have both ADHD and autism. Okay, I don't know. All right, I'm gonna have to find a way to fudge this. So they're not lining up. My sides did not line up. So I'm going to find a way to just tack it like that, because honestly, can you even see anymore? If I make a line of red go straight across there, and I just happen to fudge that or like cheat it, I don't think anyone would notice. So that's what I'm going to do. Otherwise, it would mean having to undo those rows, and I don't want to have to do that, so I just won't. Yeah, so if you're just joining, thank you so much for being here live. I'm gonna go and get my car soon, and it's being repaired. I drove over a screw, so they're patching my tire right now. And while I wait for them to call me to tell me that my car is ready, I thought I would do a little bit of crocheting and talk about being autistic. As a woman who has just learned in the last like 3 years, basically. I've only really started telling people in the last year or two. And now I think I'm so friggin' exhausted from masking my entire life that I find it almost impossible to do it now. I already have a very hard time faking sincerity and pretending to like things that I don't. And there's a whole lot of fakeness out there in the world, and I have this need to want to call it out, and that doesn't do so well out there. People don't want to be called out. So, but I don't want to have to live in silence either. I know a lot of nonsense that's happened. I know of a lot of coercion and abuse, and I want to talk about things like that because I've learned a lot. Being autistic, let's see. Being autistic means I am hypersensitive to everything. I am hypersensitive to stimulation, to lights, to sounds. Not just the volume of sound, but and that's the other thing. It doesn't even have to be like, it doesn't have to be, oh, that loud stuff is annoying. No, it can just be if multiple things are happening at once. I love ASMR, gentle whispering, but also the wrong kind of whisper could enrage me. I like light touch, like it can send chills down. I love light touch, but if you lightly touch me and I don't want you to, I might want to punch you. Like there's such a dichotomy of experience, but sensitivity. Because yeah, even the light touch, even if I had to look at light touch as an example, the light touch that feels good feels really good, and the light touch that feels bad feels violently, aggressively bad. So that's it. There's no in between. It's very, and they both exist simultaneously. So yeah, isn't that interesting? Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Yeah. So I grew up, I was always very sensitive, very attuned to other people. I grew up in a dysfunctional family too, so I had to be very mindful of other people and their moods and what was going to set them off. CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and autism often go hand in hand. I'd love to do videos in the future about how much more likely it is for people who have autism to be abused or neglected or harmed in ways. And honestly, because I will speak from me, my doctor who actually abused me said that he loved how naive I was. And I didn't even realize at the time that that wasn't a good thing until he said, oh, that's not a bad thing. Take that as a compliment. And that's when I realized, oh, that was not a compliment. Now looking back, I realize, oh, what he meant is, wow, you're like the perfect person for me to target and to exploit. And, but again, my autism made it so that I never expected other people to be despicable or to be evil. And so all of these relationships that I had in my life, my mother was narcissistic, my brother's narcissistic. I went to a therapist to handle my child abuse, and he is a psychopath. When I reached out for help, I was told to look into all things like Ted Bundy. He's a charming human who fools everyone and literally authors books on ethical boundaries in therapy. So, but during all of this chaos that I had experienced in my life, I projected my amazingness onto other people. And I thought if I just tried a little harder, then maybe, if I just tried a little bit harder, then all of these relationships would go well. And I didn't realize that I actually was attracting a lot of narcissists and psychopaths. And because I had been so thoroughly conditioned to put other people first, to give people benefit of the doubt, and to be loyal even though they did not deserve it, I could not see patterns of abuse. I did not know it because when you are in a sea of red, you do not know that blue exists. So that was my situation. And now that I am aware of what narcissistic abuse is, and that I am autistic, now literally all of my life makes sense. The fact that I tolerated so much, I needed, my spine literally broke. When I reported my doctor and was told, well, when I reached out for help and was told to watch documentaries about Ted Bundy, my spine, like they talk about like the character spine, my spine broke. My nervous system was completely shot. The cognitive dissonance of realizing that the reason I had been so stressed, and I had seizures from the stress, my marriage was destroyed, everything was just awful. And once I started making sense of the fact that I was projecting my goodness, I did not even realize evil like that existed. I did not realize that all of these things that were happening to me were calculated and they were deliberate. And then I realized, oh my goodness, these are the exact same things that happened in all of my other relationships in life. And really, like, it took me having to become suicidal, and I was at absolute rock bottom. And now, let's see. Now the fact that my special interest had always been psychology, and that was how I stayed safe. As an autistic person, I would mirror or mimic or replicate other people in their scripting. And because I was familiar with abusive relationships, it's all I knew, and so I kept that dynamic going. I kept being the person who enabled abuse until I stopped, and now I no longer do. Now that's why this is, if you go into the description of this channel, it is Hooks and Confessions, Empathy with a Backbone, because I don't know about you folks, but I was raised with a family that absolutely swept everything under the rug. There were a lot of horrendous things that happened and people didn't talk about it. And because people didn't talk about it, people like me never got the lessons that should have been learned from it, which is to have good boundaries, to protect yourself, that evil does exist even in your own family, and that there are a lot of people who are willing to ignore it and dismiss it because it doesn't serve them at all to bring it up. But now I have become such an advocate for understanding the signs of psychopathy and narcissistic abuse, understanding the kind of people that will attract a narcissist. And essentially, if you are a wonderful human who cares about other people, who is forgiving, loyal, you always give people the benefit of the doubt, then you are absolutely going to be one of the people that a narcissist targets. And even more so if you have a known history with abuse and dysfunction. Narcissists will very quickly try to get you to share about yourself and about your past trauma. And as an autistic person, I really gravitate towards that part of narcissists because I don't really like talking about small talk stuff. I find it very difficult. It requires so much energy. I absolutely will trauma dump, info dump. And so because before I understood that that was a tactic that narcissists use, I looked at that as a genuine connection and that was someone who actually cared about me and wanted to learn more about me. So I would reveal everything about myself. I would tell them all of the ways that I had been hurt, giving them a playbook of how to hurt me. You see, I had been so trusting and I had been so naive, as my doctor rightfully said, that I would give them all the information that they needed to then hurt me. And for someone who, I like to think that I am a really good person. I have suffered so much, I hate the idea of other people suffering. But at the same time, because I'm autistic and I hate the idea of other people suffering, I really do want to protect, and I don't want to be the person who sweeps stuff under the rug. Because I think there's a lot, especially autistic women, I think we are often, well, autistic humans, I think we are often targeted and we let people get away with stuff that we absolutely should not. So, yeah, so I wish my grandmother, who, everyone thought that she was a saint, I wish she had said something. I wish she had said this was not okay. But at the same time, I have to remember that she didn't have the privilege to be able to do that. So I have the privilege. I am a grown-up. I don't owe anyone my silence any longer. And I'm already estranged basically from all of my family because I cannot put up with it any longer. And I just think that they are such hypocrites, and they show fake outrage over things that don't matter, and they don't care about the things that really do. And I don't find safety in that any longer. Now, if I see someone who enables abuse, my nervous system thinks, uh-oh, like it literally pushes back on the person and knows that is not a safe human. I have had to physically get up and leave events because I saw a person's mask drop and realized that they were a dark personality, and I had to get up and leave because it triggers in me such an emotional flashback, having PTSD. So it's like being a lie detector or a personality detector. Yeah, so I feel like if I've gone through all of this nonsense, and the state prosecutor, after my doctor was found guilty and he surrendered his licenses, the state prosecutor said, "All right, Carolyn, now you can put this all behind you." And I said, respectfully, in what world do I put this behind me? It has shaped my entire life. It has rewired my brain. It was psychopathic abuse that lasted 7 years. And when I never ever highlight a book, ever. I could not believe what I had been through. And so I shut down. I had a complete breakdown. Now, in a fun twist, I now volunteer for the same organization that helped me to heal and to report my doctor. That also means that I am privy to a lot of really unfortunate and disgusting situations between health mental health providers and patients. And just so it's out there. And also, I do have CPTSD. I do have post-traumatic stress disorder, so my train of thought can kind of bounce around. So when watching any of the videos on my channel, please keep that in mind. My train of thought can go one way and then just completely deviate, and like right now. I don't know where I was going with that. So I'm going to call the dealership. I think they're probably done with my car. If you aren't already, please subscribe, comment below. When did you realize that you were autistic? Is there anything that you struggle with in particular? And do you have any other videos that you would like to be able to see on here? Because I feel like it's with representation. It literally was me seeing the Ted Bundy comparison that made sense to me. Now I could see, oh shoot, this is everything that happened to me. It was gaslighting, manipulation, exploitation, Darvo, all of the things. And also, psychopaths are not even clever. Like they're predictable. They are like an actual parasite. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Unfortunately, my pattern recognition with my autism is really one of the best parts of it. I always did so well in school. I was always top of my class in math, and I see patterns. And that's why for the longest time, the patterns that I saw, I thought I needed to change who I was because they were consistent. All of the narcissists in my life behaved consistently, and I thought I had to be the one to change. And now I realize, oh, no, the only change that needed to be made is get the heck away from them. Because stay away from narcissists. I'm going to say this one last thing. Okay. Last little rant. The reason that narcissists are so dangerous, and I consider a narcissist, a psychopath, a sociopath to be all the exact same. I don't think there's really a need to distinguish between them because it comes down to the same thing, which is that they lack the fundamental goodness that makes humans safe in the world. So they don't have remorse, they don't have guilt, they don't have shame, unless the shame brings them to a narcissistic injury, and then brace yourself. Because yeah, they don't like humiliation, so that they don't deal well with. They don't like to be embarrassed, and yeah, but that's what makes it so that autistic people, or someone like me who couldn't even fathom going out of your way to hurt someone, I was at such odds with narcissists. We literally were the exact opposite. I am the opposite of a psychopath. What psychopaths lack in their humanity and their ability to care and connect and empathize, and I have all of what they are missing tenfold. So I feel all of the things that they lack. And so for the longest time, I did not that I'm gonna have to go get my car, I think. I did not even understand. I could not fathom, and still now I find it very difficult to understand that there are some people who are so cold and so cruel, because it goes so against my human nature. Which also means narcissists see that. They see that, like they feel it too. They are attracted to your light, your success. They want high achieving, loyal, forgiving. Bonus if you have some past trauma, because then they know that you're going to put them first always. Know the signs, what psychopathy looks like. Please follow along. I get very passionate about this. I have been the victim of it way too many times, and now that I am putting firm boundaries, those same people are calling me unkind. And I can't save the world, and but I also cannot keep all of this stuff to myself, because I've been through way too much for this to have led to absolutely nothing. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please subscribe if you aren't already, and we'll talk another time.